Hello, welcome back to Mark's Garden UK. This is Miscanthus Giganteus. It's a form of grass and it's very similar in many ways to this bamboo behind me. But whereas bamboo is considered in many cases to be invasive, this plant is not invasive. It's vigorous, it's fast growing, but it's also clump forming. It's perennial, but it's not evergreen. The bamboo is evergreen. Perennial means that the roots stay in the ground and survive the winter. The fact that it's not evergreen means that every winter these grasses will fade and die back, and late winter, early spring, you'll cut them down. Let me tell you why I bought this plant. I've been thinking of ways to try and hide this somewhat ugly drainage pipe at the back of the cottage. We're in the courtyard at the back of the cottage. I want something that won't take up too much space, so I want something with a vertical habit, and the grass has a vertical habit, and I want something quite narrow. So this is the solution I've come up with just off camera here. I bought 3 of these stone effect vertical planters, which are quite narrow, and I think these will be the ideal screen for this wall. And I'm going to plant them with 9 of these Miscanthus Giganteus. Now, I've got a confession. I've gone ahead and bought these and since realised that it's probably the wrong plant. And I'll tell you why. Giganteus, the name, gives the game away. Giganteus, it's a big one. This has the potential, after its 3rd season when it's become established, to put up grasses between 9 and 12 feet high. Bigger even than that bamboo. So, and also it can grow 3 feet in diameter at the base. So it's a bit of a beast, and it's great for privacy and it's great for filling areas, but it's not particularly good for smaller planters like this. And if you've got a planter like this and you want a Miscanthus, there's lots of other varieties to go for, and lots of different colours as well. This is a nice plant and it will do the job, but I am aware that probably after its 3rd season I'm going to have to take them all out, divide them, probably sell some, and then replant them. So if you are considering this, possibly don't go for the Giganteus. Another point to note, a word of warning, is these planters are quite light and they've got a false bottom in, which is what the plants are actually sitting in here, which means that all the soil is in the top 3rd. And that means that the centre of gravity for these planters is quite high up. There are a few drainage holes on the bottom of the planters, but there isn't a way of putting any ballast in the bottom of there. So I'm okay here because I'm in a very, very sheltered position. There's no wind coming through here. We're against the wall, got the bamboo there, and the prevailing wind comes from over there. So these are going to be safe. But if you were going to use these planters in an exposed position, please don't use a very tall plant like I'm doing, because they'll just constantly blow over. I think they look lovely with Buxus sempervirens hedging them, just clipped neatly into cubes. I'm going to get away with it here. I've bitten the bullet, I've taken the plunge, I'm going to do it anyway. But just a word of warning, I love the planters. I love the plants, but it might be a case ultimately of the wrong plant in the wrong place, but we'll see. So today's job is planting these up. Let me tell you what I've already done. I've spent a bit of time levelling the ground already with my rake, because these are tall planters. Any unlevel ground beneath them will be accentuated at the top. That's pretty obvious. You would see it, that the gap there, from the gap there, would be obvious to the eye. So I've levelled the ground. I've also got my cordless drill ready with a wood bit in, 10mm wood bit, because there's no pre-drilled drainage holes in the bottom of those planters, so I'm going to have to put some in. I'll show you, it's dead easy. I've got a truck here full of crocks. Crocks, for those who don't know, are basically just pieces of broken terracotta. Once I've put the drainage holes in, I'll cover them up with crocks, and that will allow the water to drain through but stop the soil, the compost, from going through. These grasses like moist but well-drained soil, so there will be lots of drainage holes going in the bottom of those planters. If you let them get too waterlogged, especially in the winter time, they'll suffer from root rot, and that's just not a healthy thing for this plant. It's an interesting plant in other ways. This scientists are doing studies and tests on that plant and to see if it can be used as a crop. And what's interesting about this plant, even though it's a grass, it's got quite a high level of carbon in its stems. Most grasses have a lot of nitrogen, you can tell that by how green they are, but this has got quite a lot of carbon. And a lot of carbon is stored in the roots below the ground, and because those roots survive and stay in the ground, it's considered a very good plant for sequestering carbon out of the atmosphere. And they've done studies on this, and they've discovered that actually it needs a lot less water than a lot of other crops to grow. So it's water efficient, which is good for the globe. So it could be the crop of the future. What would this be used for? Well, it's quite fibrous. So they would use that for mulching. They would use it in products that need fibre in them. And also, which interests me, it's already been used as to bulk up pet food as fibre content. So there we go. An interesting, nearly said little plant, but an interesting giant plant, which you can get little versions of. I'm going to get on with the job now. In summary, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Put drainage holes in, cover them with crops, fill the pots with compost, plant the grasses in, put them in position. I'll do that. I'll film it. I'll put it in fast forward with some music to it, and I'll see you at the end so that you can see the finished product. Let me get on with the job. And don't forget, as always, I'll put the link to where I bought those from in the description box below. I'll also put the link to these planters, and if you buy the planters, it's an Amazon link. Do get commission. Appreciate your support, but I've got to be transparent. Let's move them out of the way, and then we'll start the job proper. So there you go, Miscanthus Giganteus. Instant effect. I've already hidden the pipe work, and next year as these spread and thicken out, I'll also hide a large part of that wall. Space-saving vertical planters, a grass that matches the bamboo behind me. I'm very pleased with the result, but I will reiterate my words of warning from earlier. If you're going to use tall planters like this, where the centre of gravity is high, perhaps don't go with a very tall plant in an exposed position. I think you'd be better off with a box plant in an exposed position, Buxus sempervirens. Well, this will do for me. Giganteus is quite vigorous, so I'm aware that I'll have to thin these out in a couple of years' time. And don't forget, there are other versions of Miscanthus which you might want to choose in planters if you want a smaller habit. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'll type all the research up in the description box below this video. I'll see you soon for some more Miscanthus Giganteus adventures. Bye for now.